examples and also answer any questions that might have come up from before about, say, for example, Craig and his wife and so forth. And to that end, I want to just take you through a reference point of where we use the ID with our clients and with our family and friends. And a lot of people may get their score and read the couple of paragraphs of their report, but not always necessarily have the background of where the ID fits in their life, so to speak, you know. And so, where's that little bar that lets me do everything? Uh, oh, there we go. So I'm going to share this screen now. Are we up? Are we good? Personality behaviors?
We're good.
Okay. Now this is the link ups, what we call the onion skins. It usually in the presentation comes just before, sorry, I'm going to get your faces bigger. Just before you do the peak performance indicator, and explains to people where ID fits. I have another version of it that we got back in the old days that I like, and it opens it up. So I'm going to take that sphere and then flatten it. Right. So that's that idea that looking from a cross section of you, and the onion skins is showing us two things: your ID in the center of everything, with all the other things that make you human. So this is saying that the ID is a need, just like the need to be true to yourself is the need to make a difference, to be growing and learning, to be loved and loved, to belong and to be accepted, to be safe and healthy. When we call those instinctive needs that humans have across the planet, you could keep going physiologically. We have a need to do a reaction to if you think we're going to fall, and we do things to loud noises, and we react to being hungry and all that. So the ID fits right in there for you to be healthy and happy and focused. To be true to you is as equal a need as to be loved. And this is a good one to get because instantly there's a conflict built in, right? Because there's the conflict between my need to be loved and my need to belong and to be part of something. So the outer layers represent that other spot called nurture, which is the rest of the world saying whether we fit or not. And so to me, there's a cruel joke in the world where we're built with this this whole thing that we are trying to be true to ourselves and be happy and healthy and focused, and we want to be part of the tribe. And so the conflicts is set up that our final personality is a combination of those two. And we like to say with ID that your ID drives your personality, but your onion skins shape it. And if you're ever explaining ID to anybody else, this helps them get over the hurdle. They go, oh, I don't want to be classified. I don't want to be named. I don't want to belong to a cult. And you can't summarize me up with 5 numbers. And we want this drawing to say, yeah, we absolutely agree with that. We can't. We're not even going to try. We're going to say that the ID is what drives all the rest of what's been happening in your life since you were born, right? So when we refer to the onion skins, when we're doing mastery classes, we're meaning when someone says, oh, well, I've got a 7 in verify, and I don't need to check that much. And we say, yeah, well, you do, but maybe you're not for a range of other reasons. And there's always, for me, 2 things going on here. Either their onion skins are playing out and they've learned to fit in. They don't ask so many questions because it was annoying the hell out of everyone. Sorry, Grant, did I say that out loud? And and this person's learned to adapt because the world around them has challenged their belonging and being accepted and fitting in. Or the other thing is they aren't trying to fit in. They don't ask the questions and it's driving them crazy. Either way, if you're not true to it, there will be symptoms in the peak performance indicator. So we're all up to speed with that. If you're, for whatever reason, you're not being true to you, a great reason, a loving reason or not, it will still take its toll. So when we say look after you first, put your own oxygen mask on first, it's so that you can be more useful to others, right? It's so that you can be more focused, grounded, in control of your own emotions and attitudes and stuff so that you can be of a service to others and a support to the rest of the group and a great team player, which we're all on a team of some kind. So I wanted to start with the onion skins today so that you got the sense that ID is not just the number, it's the number playing out through your life. So the identical IDs will, we've never and ever will see someone with two IDs and go, oh, you're just like Bob. You know, you go, yeah, you and Bob are driven by the same needs. That's the more accurate thing. And how your needs are taken care of will be determined by all your onion skins of learning. And one of the biggest ones is your sense of confidence and self-esteem that you got through that time. So when we go back to Craig's talk last week about him needing to do the homework and get the science behind things, but also attaching it to a bigger reason and a rationale. From his drives point of view, we can back engineer that and go, oh yeah, well, the verify needs that. But I'm going to suggest there's other things in his onion skin that make him go, yeah, my family sacrificed a lot for this, and I'm not going to bloody come second, you know? So he has that driving. And not everybody in an Ironman competition has their family there, but they've got, I'm going to suggest, something else that makes them go bigger. And the something else that goes bigger is going to be a combination of your onion skins. So what's your reaction to all that, kids? Anyone got a comment?
Makes sense to me in terms of the fact that the onion skins make as much difference in some ways as a different ID. In other words, as you said, the same IDs aren't necessarily showing up in the same way for two different people. The onion skins are the big lens to it.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. We hear sometimes on these calls, someone will say, oh, I need this and I need that. And someone else with that drive will say, well, I don't need that. And then there are people who are be new to the system, the ID system, and go, oh, well, it must not be 100% across all the board. But those of us who have used it for a while, we've had enough experience with, in my case, thousands of people, where I know instantly one thing that they don't know. I go straight there, and this is what gives me my rock, right? Is whatever they're saying, and this includes all of you who I love on this call, right? You say something that goes against your ID, you go, yeah, well, the ID's right. I'm starting with the ID, right? I start there. And then I work back through the onion skins and the situation in your life and your world and what you're doing right now and your health, your PPI. Pre-performance indicator, and I go, something's going to show somewhere else. So I just ask some questions, and then they go, no, I'm fine. No, you know, like they're twitching, but they're saying everything's good, right? And when we get real honest, we go, oh yeah, I don't do that, but boy, I wish I could. And so when you have a clash between what your drive says you want to do, need to do, and what you're able to do in the moment, we'd like you to play the game. Well, let's pretend the drive's right, because it is, and work back to what would I need to do to honor that need and still fit in, work with others, cooperate, and so forth. Is that a helpful approach for you guys? So it gives like a reference point. All right, because I use it all the time and I'm loving what it does. So then we come over to the peak performance things. And when Paul goes to where are you and all that, my green up's going, that's good. Now you got that. I'm right into the next one. And so what? Like, and then so do you like that number and want to stay there? Are you wishing it was more or less? And can we add some onion skins on and go, you know what? And I'm going to give a real life thing. It's sadder than I'm going to maybe appear. It's sadder. We had a death in the network that we have one of the motorcycle guys, and we were at that funeral with a huge community of people, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm feeling pretty 3 or 4 or 5, you know, in a sense, from a peak performance indicator, and I'm not going to do anything. Damn it, you know. this guy's worth me feeling sad right now. You know, I want to be sad and feel, but then when I thought about it a bit, I went, you're conscious of what you're doing. You know, this is okay. I've actually kind of been really loving that I'm feeling bad with everybody else. And I went, oh shit, does that make me an 8? You know, like, you know, if we're going to play the number, I'm actually okay with this. And so overall for me, I want to be in this state. So make a distinction between the situation getting a number, and that situation got a 1 or a 2, but I'm loving being with this people. I'm happy sharing these stories. We're moving from laughing to crying, and we're sharing food, and I'm going, this is a pretty good day in that sense, you know? And so I got to tell you, from an Authenticate point of view, I don't really want to rank it. I just want to say how you're feeling. The bigger question for me is, what pulls you out, and how do you bring yourself back? What pulls you out? What brings yourself back? And the key on that is your early warning signals. So how do you know you're an 8 or a 9 or a 10 in this situation? And then the bigger question for us is, and what are you going to do about it? So all I want to do today with this is, if you're going to get a number, put that number in your head right now and hold it. And at the end of the workshop, let's have a look at where it is. Let's just see if what we do with each other lifts us up, okay? And we won't dwell too much on why you're there or what you're doing there, but let's just go into some stuff. And Ian, knowing me and knowing you, and Dougie, anyone can please remind me to do this just before we go. Because I know I'm going to be 5 stations down the track going out in the paddock chasing rabbits, okay? So
perfect. There's a question there from Joe. I think she's just put a hand up.
Yeah, sorry, see it. Joe.
Sorry, I wasn't putting a hand up. I don't know where.
You were just applauding, were you, Joe?
Yeah, that's it. I meant to be a clap the hand, because I actually agree with you, Greg. And I just put a comment up actually saying I completely agree with you. And it's really when, I mean, you know, we can't experience joy without sadness, and we can't experience other emotions and at times. And I just identified with you really closely when you said that, which is not surprising.
That's right. Look, another one, and since we're doing deep dives, we're going to look at the nuances between different drives and lengths of different drives, intensities, you know, a difference between a 6, a 7, and 8. And please note that whatever you're feeling, and you're feeling it true for you, you start there and work from what's true, and then work back to how's it fitting in with others, because your sense of what's working and not working is an instinct. And those of us who listen to our instincts seem to have a heads up before things get too bad. For example, if you are looking at the peak performance here and you're just pulled off like one little line here, and then you catch it and come back, you leave it go a little longer, you move from being a little annoyed and a little energy drop to feeling really frustrated and throwing things, to storming out of meetings, to sitting in a ball and crying. It just keeps going off, right? And I like to remind you that one of the biggest early warning signs that is pretty universal is that the first thing that will go when you are out of stride, the first thing that you will notice if you're paying attention to yourself, is an energy drop for that particular moment you're in. That just loss of a sense of commitment and purpose and focus. And you're going to go in a range of ways. Now, then we bring in onion skins, right? Like, do you get apathetic? Do you get cranky? Do you get sarcastic? Well, whatever later. But before that, it's like some universal thing that goes, or it's a universal thing that goes, what? So we either get confused or we get like sort of deflated. And that's the first thing, is some sense of what? This isn't, huh? And if you can pay more attention to that and stay with that a bit longer, and that's that phrase that we use, stay stupid longer. Don't come to a conclusion about what the problem is just yet. Just go, oh man, what, huh? And just pay attention to where maybe you're sliding out of being true to you, or the situation's moving off the focus you thought it was supposed to have. So your ID will be as important as the onion skins you're floating in. I guess that's what I'm saying. Be aware of the soup you're in, and in that soup, how do I stay a carrot? And then someone else stays the potato and someone else stays the celery, right? But we're all together in this in a great soup. Now, I just want to give some flicks here to the, you all right for me to keep setting this up? You guys want to, yep, good. This is the way we show our drives to everyone, and we use these symbols so that they have a picture to come back in their mind with, because pictures say a lot for people. And for the verified drives, we use the funnel. And the idea is that the up verify, use verify, processes round and round and round that funnel. And it goes through deduction, reasoning, and conclusions, and comparing and contrasting and ranking and making a list and backing it up and research, all that process to get to what's true, what's right based on, I think, for simplicity, three things. What problem are we solving? The three Ps. What problem? What purpose does it have in solving this problem? And what priority does it have right now? So all you guys that are the strong authentic verifies, do those three Ps resonate with you? For you to be committed and involved, there's got to be a problem. What the hell am I a problem solver? But is it really a purpose? And does it really matter now? Does that like get you started? I'm seeing nods. Okay. And I tell you this not just for you guys to go, yeah, so what, Greg, thanks for sharing, right? But for the rest of us to go, why, Ilona's and I, we go, oh my God, they're going round and round. That's what it feels like to us. We're in that vortex, you know, and you guys, you're surfing it. You're surfing that vortex, you know, and maybe even up the wall and then down the wall, right? And then at the end, you pop out and go, ta-da! You know, we're just dizzy, right? We're just dizzy. And so for the rest of us, if we can go, if we're lost with a verifier, we can go, dude, what problem are we working on here? I'm still clear, you want to make sure. And when they then summarize it for you, okay, great. And then for those of us that have other drives, we use our drive to then hook onto that. And the other thing is, if the purpose behind it's not explained, the verifiers will keep going till they get that purpose clarified. And for the rest of you, boys and girls, it's a purpose for this project. It's a purpose. Then why? Why am I doing it? Why are we doing it? Why is it being done? Why now? Why with this resource? It's just all those pieces have to fit. They have to pick them all up on the way around. And when they all line up, and you go, yeah, this is good. So when you ever hear a verifier say to you, oh, yeah, whatever, if you want. Yeah, it's up to you. No, I don't care. I'm good. That only means one thing. It's not a priority for them. It's not a problem for them to solve. And there's no purpose for them to get involved. So and only the verifiers, when you do this in a room, they all smile. They go, oh, don't give away our secrets, you know, like, and some of them are very clever. They'll throw a few questions in to make it look like they're interested. But basically, they're not drilling down. They're really giving it over to you. And sometimes that means they trust you. And sometimes it means it's just not a priority. So go for the three Ps when you're looking to explain what's going on. And that drive mixes with the other time, the avoid drive, and they don't go through that process. They just have another process, which is not linear. It's not sequential. It's not in a process of if, therefore. It's more of a gestalt in a network like the brain synapses. And they just get an answer. And they just go, is or isn't, blue or red, right or wrong. And they know, here's the kicker for the rest, for the verifier, because this freaks the verifiers out. They start spinning when I say this stuff. They just know. You just know. How can they just know, right? And what they do is they don't realize that it's just not a linear process. The avoid verifiers and the fives of us, we're using other processes to get still whether we know or not it's right or wrong. And we do. The avoid verifiers are very good at it is or it isn't. And if they don't know they don't know. And they won't crap you, you know. What's that? Oh, they know they don't know. And they won't tell you they do. When they know, they know. When they don't know, they don't know. And they can't explain why. This is the kicker, which, you know, throws everyone else off. So what we tend to ask people to do is work back from an avoid verify, from what they know to be true, and test it, play with it, run it out, let them tell you the story of it. Like, well, I was thinking this and then with that. They're not explaining why. They're telling you sort of how they got there. It's not really a why, but it can be seen as a why. This making sense? All right, I'm not going to spend as much time. I just want to give you this, what we do. I don't want to burn up too much of the time with this, but just know that there's different approaches going. So the authenticate drive is looking at what's above the ground. The avoid authenticate is what's underneath holding that up. It's not that they just look under the ground. They know that when I see a tree that big on the top of the surface, there's a huge root system with an ecosystem of organisms below it. And there's got to be water down there, and there's got to be some parent rock that support, all that. They just go deep, 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 deep. And whenever you think, particularly a 3 and a 2 in a verify, God help us, a 1, and whenever they say yeah to something, there's always more, right? There's always more, right? And they're just being nice by not bringing it up. This relates to that, relates to this, and the root systems go there, and that means there's no iron in the. Oh my goodness! And we're just going, yeah, it's an apple tree, right? So the up authenticate, the use authenticates. We are dealing with what is literal and in our face and can be seen and heard and done. And together, these two drives, when both sides are honored, are such a thorough exploration of a topic. And when in a relationship, when both directions are honored, you cover things off, but you have to confirm that you're talking about the same thing when you finish the day. Like who's going to do what by when, right? Because otherwise you'll go away with different messages. Now, when you combine that to the complete drives, you get more things. So look how complex it's getting in terms of if you have these drives all operating. And for the complete drive, the thing that got me, why I use this puzzle is my wife we were going through symbols. And actually, no, we didn't use it. We found it from Link Up. But what I mean is why I got it when Meyer said, I said, what's this? He goes, that one piece out and all you use complete. See if I'm telling the truth. That's just, the whole thing's ruined. Like this, it's almost, it's unsettling to see that piece out because it's just like, it's not done. It's like, and I love the reaction. The rest of us go, all right, we're close. We're almost there. Hey, I can still put my coffee cup on that thing. It'll still work, And the complete's got, no. So you can imagine, as detailed as the verifiers are on the 3 Ps, they're looking at who's fitting together with what resources, in what time, to coordinate with what's going to happen and fit with what has happened, and honor our sense of code and make sure that we all feel belong. And it just goes on. And I got to tell you, when you understand how thorough the complete drive is with a situation, you just get exhausted for them. You just go, oh my God, I'm so glad, so sorry I ever picked on you. You were doing so much I don't know below the surface. You were covering off so many things that I was skimming over. And please, guys, if nothing else, be nice to your completes, okay? Please respect what they're doing is so much thorougher, so much more containing of other things, so much encompassing, so much more nurturing. With this proviso, it's got to be on their radar of concern. Like, so you can see a Dr. Jekyll Hyde with complete sometimes, and they just see really, really caring over here. And then over there, they're letting him fall off the cliff, right? You go, oh yeah, it's all right. And so what you can see is, wow, if they haven't decided that's part of their must look after, their responsibility, they don't put all those skills to work and all those talents to work in that. So you can again see when a complete drive's not having that as a focus, they won't be giving it the kind of attention that does when they go to the nth degree to get all the pieces together. Do you have any experience of completes that validate that or not?
Absolutely, Greg. It's Gail. I was just going to chime in. My PA is a complete, and she has a range of tasks to do when we get a new client. And one of them is to send a letter to the previous accountant. And I said, oh, look, I'm a bit busy to do that right now, just, And I therefore assumed she'd leave that bit and do everything else. But she didn't do anything. And then I suddenly got a backfire because we hadn't done all the things we were meant to do. And I went, well, what happened? Because I remember telling you what I wanted to go in the letter, and I actually found the document. And she said, oh, but you told me to hold it. And so if I had to hold that, I couldn't do the rest of it.
There you go. That's a very good example. Yeah, I live with that all the time. We're working on repairing the chicken shed out there and redoing it. And my idea, well, let's just put the footings in. Well, this, and Barry goes, no, you know, so we're going through all this. And I'm saying that you would have seen me. I looked like a 12-year-old yesterday when she did. Oh, well, let's just pre-drill that. I go, oh my God, why can't we just put it on there, right? And we have this, because I'm this drive down here, and she's the up complete. And for me, every time you hit the cue ball, it's a new game and you beauty, because I love that variety. I love that change. I love that difference. And I'm a 2. I mean, David would be nodding his head to this, but at no degree that I'm nodding my head for this, right? And those of you, you know, like Amanda, who live with, your husband's a void complete, isn't he, Amanda? Yes or no? Yeah, I thought so. And you know, you know the sense of impatience that we seem to hear, and that impatience hits our complete drive friends hard, because it does 2 things. It starts to rattle the cage of what we're doing and shake up the focus and the fitting it all together. And it makes them think they're doing something wrong, that they're not moving fast enough for us, and that we're upset. And now they're going to tuck us in, right? And so they have the issue's been rattled and we're rattled. Oh, yeah. And so we can tend to make a mess of the game, because we're saying, oh, good, every ball's in a new position now. I love this game. And they're going, my God, what happened to the red ball, right? So know that the 2 drives are working, again, to complete things, but the use complete drive gets the things already before they start and then rolls them out, whereas we work it out along the way with the avoid complete. And unless there's a method of coordinating those 2, it's going to be chaotic. And one of the best things that we worked out, well, we personally, Vera and I, and also with some of the other, with our clients, is let the use complete make the map, the coordinating the time and the zone of thing, and then turn the avoid complete out on little jobs. Like, go do that, go get this, go finish that, right? Cut me some boards. So as long as she keeps me online, well, I'm just using the drop saw to get us the net length, or I'm polishing this down so it can fit. And then she says, okay, now we're going to put the footings in, right? And I'm having a ball because I'm busy. That's partly with my Authenticate as well. So just to finish this and then get it, I'm going to be halfway through. This is good. The need to make things spectacular for the up improvise is not that they're spectacular and you think they're spectacular. So Dave and Joe, and so if they're not doing this thing, so you go, aren't Dave and Joe wonderful? They want you to get the same buzz of excitement that they got from this thing. And when they see you excited with it, they're going, yeah, that's when they get the juice. If you turn off your attention and go, oh, Joe, you're so wonderful. That was really amazing. You did that thing. Joe's going, oh, why'd you just took your eye off the ball there, right? It's this thing I want you to be. They want us to have that energy. So that's why in a room, in a meeting, they're bringing in the energy so that we can all go on and get things done and do it with a little bit more ease, a little bit more simplicity, a little bit more joy and happiness, and a more sense of energetic purpose, right? And so when they find the room dying, you know, the energy dropping, right? And you see, I love working with up improvisers. The sons I've done stuff with and chatted with, I'm laughing at you, Ilona, because what I know and you know instantly, if you just dropped off energy, we're like power boats, and then you cut the power, the boat sinks, right? It doesn't glide to a stop, you know, like a car does. It just sinks. And for those of you that are down improvise, you see that and go, oh God, what's wrong now? You know, like we have a reaction and we're just going, oh, this, damn it. And then they go, why, what happened? I just realized I didn't pick that book up from the library. And they go, oh my God, I thought the world was ending, you know? So Vera's constantly going, phone will ring. Hi. Really? She goes, what's wrong? And I'm going, he found the gasket for the overdrive of the, you know, like it's nothing. It's nothing. But my reaction and the improvised reactions are out of scale sometimes to the thing that's just happened. And you're mixing that with an avoid improvise, who's looking for risk and danger and things falling apart and what we need to repair and what damage could be done, and get ready for that and have a plan for that in a sense of what would we do if that happened. And all we've said is, yeah, you know, I dropped the ball on the, it just got dirt on it. Like nothing's really wrong, right? So know that the avoid improvised drive brings the gift of, I call the custodian. It's a little bit different from the complete. The complete's putting it together. The avoid improvise is looking long-term, how will it last? Like a custodian of something, of the planet or a child or organization, that have we minimized the risk of us causing it to fail? Right? Have we minimized the risk of what we did to do it be the reason it doesn't do it, right? And outside forces, we can minimize their impact. And so that's why they'll take a bit longer to give something the tick of let's move, because they're considering way more factors. So the combination of up complete and down improvised together will appear to others to be slower on the mark to get things done. But thank God for them, because otherwise we would all just be putting nails with hammers and nails and boards together, and it'll last a week, and then we're going to do it again, right? We can overdo the energy and the excitement and the build of it, and it won't necessarily have the legs. Although it can, if having the legs is what's the stunning thing. So we can trick you. We, the down completes and up improvisers, can put out some pretty sturdy, long-lasting, impressive stuff, but not for the reasons you do it. And this is the kicker. So you won't solve a problem with our thinking. We won't solve one with yours. And that's what brings the joy of ID to the whole thing, is that we are going to together do way more than we can separately. And together we're going to be more thorough, and we're going to be more lasting, and we're going to be more exciting, and so forth. Any comments or questions on the dump of ID?
Yeah, Greg, Steve here. How are you? Yeah, I'm 6572, so certainly on the certain and working towards that. But I bring it together with something I picked up from Greg last week, where his resilience came out of keeping the big picture and the detail together. So I use that. I'm high on complete, so I'm looking for the information, but I look at the big picture and the little picture to keep it all in context. And with the verified getting it right, certainly the plan and the purpose. And I see those three working very intricately, and I use them together to get stuff done.
That's
So
great.
good analogy.
That's great. What you've done, to me, you've redefined what you're responsible for. And as soon as an upcomplete, if an upcomplete's looking too much down the rabbit hole, they just have to make bigger what they're calling their whole, because they're trying to keep everything whole. But what's in that definition of whole will decide how big you go. And that means you could pop up larger and then come down to detail. But if I was working with you when you were getting lost in detail, I just have to come by and remind you of the bigger picture, and I can reset you, so to speak.
Yes, well, I work with a program director who exactly mentored me through that. And he said, Steve, sometimes you just got to go with 70% of the information and just make a decision and go. And I learned that skill set. So therefore it makes me uncomfortable, but that's fine. So, but I just get going and make a decision and keep moving. The
key word there, folks, in that sentence was, it makes me uncomfortable, but, right? So, and I think that they can mean, that means you're moving off your peak performance just a tad, but not long enough where you're going to get off center too long, and enough to let you go, this is a bit sore, but it's okay. It's going to come back later. I've just done the exercises too quickly, right? Now, spot on. So I wanted to start looking at some things. So with that all in mind, when we work with a team, we have everyone's ID there as they see it in their booklet, so that they can see the ups and downs, and we got the whole ID walking around in front of us. And if you look at this culture of this particular group, Ian made this up once the registrations were in, and he's showing us that this group looks like this group, this ID. And if you look at the major 56%, this group as a whole is up, up, down, down. So that means it's going to be getting it right with the purpose, the priority, and the problem. Make it useful and make it real, so it does something everyone can see and it can apply some way that makes a difference. These are kind of almost split. This is nudged a bit. So I would almost say, as a group, this is probably a 5 in one sense, that it could go either way, and but that's the wrong use of the 5. So we got the split there, but I'd give it down, and then being safe and reliable and making sure we're not shooting ourselves in the foot. But as a team, if this were a working team, this is a great team because it's got color in every direction. It just means that the team's got to be flexible enough to use deductive thinking and network thinking and get real with it and understand what's underneath the surface, and have a plan around it that has all pieces fit together, and be flexible enough to handle the change, and make sure it's stunning and interesting and not going to fall over. Now, what business wouldn't want that, right? What business wouldn't want that, right? And you look at the people who have responded to the COVID as an exercise in seeing which areas of government and corporations and families have responded, and you're going, this is a time where in the early days, thank God for the improvisers, like all of a sudden we're going online with a workshop. It's a hands-on workshop. What are we going to do? And thank goodness for the people who go, could you put your mask on, please? Because you're in a room with 10 people. So together, I'm going to say the most responsive responses, the most ones that are most useful, have honored all the directions and have made sure that all they're fitting in. And for some people, they've been thriving during this time because they have been paying attention to the science and have been adapting in such a way that they're making things work still, right? So this group, if I'm going to do talking, I pushed my edge here because a lot of these drives are going, I want to do something. But I really felt the need to give like a background and this is a master class. And I go, we all working on the same page. So can we now move from me to you? And if you have an example of you have a people with opposite drives, or you've got something in your life, I've got some samples here. So all the drives are on there somehow. We don't have to work these, but I actually have these people in either my client life or my personal life. And I see them working out. So I've gave them numbers rather than names so that you wouldn't assign any sex roles to them, because we often think that women are more up pink than men. We often think that, an older person is more down yellow than a younger. We have these stereotypes, which just aren't true. So now I'm kind of throwing it out in terms of give me an example of a situation, and you don't even have to, reveal too much, but we want to look at how do the different, let's say these two drive, they're all opposite, right? How they would work that situation and probably still get as good a quality of an answer. So whoever would like to go first will be the next person to talk.
Sorry, Greg. Could you repeat that ask again or rephrase it?
Sure.
Thank you, Greg. I was just going to say, as a 2 in authenticate, your instruction didn't mean anything to me. And I was trying to work out what you wanted. And living with a 7 in authenticate, we have these discussions every day.
All right. Well, I got to admit, I was doing a trick on you there. I wanted to see if anyone had a question as well as get to stop talking. But I wanted to do a thing where I do in the groups where the leader asks a question and waits long enough until someone in the group speaks. Because if you ask a question and you speak first as the leader, you're teaching the group not to answer you. Do you get the thinking behind that? Like, I've asked you a question, I wait 10 seconds, then I talk, and we know that the up-completes and the down avoid improvisers are formulating their question, right? They're considering all options and possibilities and who's going to next speak and am I interrupting and all that. And if we jump in too soon, we shut all that off. And that was demonstrated by Amy going, what the hell did she just say? Sorry, Amy, you didn't say
That's
that.
all right. That's all right.
That's good. That's good, because when it's a really floppy instruction, that's the least they'll often say, or you give them a chance to go, excuse me, I don't know where we're going. But if a group won't speak up with you, then you can't know where they are, right? So it was vague, and it wasn't intended to be vague. So I can't use that as, oh, I did that on purpose to be a teacher. That was a screw up, okay? So don't let me get away with that. What I'm looking for is examples in your life where you are not quite sure why something happened with you and someone else. And we can get a short, quick example of that scenario, and then we can explain it from an ID point of view. And I wanted to use some real life examples from you, and then I would then have these charts to be able to point to a drive somewhere, because all the drives are showing here. and then I could talk it out and we could discuss it as a group about how that came to be, that this situation not working really well, or if you want, a time when things were really pumping and you're wondering what was going on with your ID. So I'm trying to take situation and explain it from an ID point of view. You need to provide the situation with you and another person, or you and yourself. Is that any better?
Yep, that makes sense.
So who would like to give me something? Give us something.
I don't know
Okay,
if
Greg, Judy.
Go ahead, Judy.
I don't know if this is what you're looking for, because I still don't quite understand, except I was thinking about something that happened. And so I'll make it short and then we can get to the gentleman's. So I was telling a woman that I'm doing some work with the other day about my ID, and I don't have her ID, but I told her that the two most important things for me are to be complete and to have harmony. When I'm complete, I have harmony. And so I just wanted to give her a brief explanation. And she said to me, but that's not who you are.
Wow.
And so I, when somebody doesn't know anything about a particular instrument like the ID, and I don't know if I made a mistake by thinking that maybe I could share something with her that would help her to know more about me. I'm wondering if I made a mistake in assuming that, or any reflection. And I do appreciate you saying what you did say, so this came to mind because I've just wondered about it.
Great. Now, those questions that just formed in your head that you've just shared with us just now, like was that me? Was that her? That was the next direction of your conversation with her. She gave you a clue in a fashion when she go, well, that's not you. What a brilliant opening for you to go, really? What makes you say that? And then she gets to talk. And then what would have happened then is she would have started unreeling what she was actually hearing when you spoke, because we never know what someone's is hearing when we speak, right? We don't even know what words they're focusing on. But she gave you a clue in a fashion by saying, well, that's not who you are. What an amazing statement, that she's getting a perception that you're different than what you just said. Or did she hear what you said and it doesn't match up with what you do? Or, like, whoa. That to me would have been the opening of a conversation. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I will go back and complete it.
Bless you.
I will ask her, the other day I said this and you said this, and it didn't occur to me then, but I'm wondering if you could say more about that.
Great. And that's a great opening. You got it nailed, Judy. That's great.
Okay. Thank
Dougie,
you.
what were you going to say? Thanks for that, Mike. That was great. Dougie, what were you going to say about an issue?
Yeah, I was just thinking about my wife, Anne, who's a 6573. And
right,
something occurs with the avoid complete and the use complete, her 7 and my 4. And
so just for everyone else, I don't have one here, but 6573.
73, yeah.
Yeah, she's up, flat, down, up, down. Yeah. Okay, good.
So I'll throw questions out basically generated from my verify. The questions are going out just for acknowledgement. And Anne's cleverer than that. She hangs back in acknowledging because she hasn't got the whole picture yet.
Right.
And I'm just throwing out these random questions to verify things. getting all very annoyed because nobody's confirming or acknowledging that they're hearing me, you know? And it's always a good start to a bit of a punch up. So, so maybe you can give me a bit more depth with mine and what I might do just to hose down my need for acknowledgement, you know?
Right, right.
I know I try and do it, but I fail more often than win.
The good thing about this is it's an example of the problem is actually in the solutions in the problem, and your need for acknowledgement will still be met. But what you're trying to acknowledge is your understanding of this issue, and you've got this verify sequential thinking thing, and what she's trying to do is what's it all about? How does it fit? What's it safe? So what you can start doing is finding out what sense she's making of what you're asking. Like, do you understand why I'm asking that? And let her ask questions back. Your acknowledgement should be her wanting to ask questions, not her answering yours.
Aha.
The shift is, you'll know she's engaged because she's querying you about what the hell you're going on about.
Yes.
If you just wait for her to go tick, which is like, she can't tick it because there's no reference point and how it all fits together and what are the risks involved and why are we doing it in the first place and all that, right? And she's being not patient, she's just gathering data. So the more you can put reference points around it and let her quiz them, your engagement from her will be from her asking you questions more than by her answering yours. That's my summary there.
Yes, that makes sense. I've got to
Go,
there's
report back next week how that works.
A bit of discipline needed.
So this sort of thing, this is what I'm looking for. You guys give a situation, we'll play it back with drives, and we'll at the same time teach more about ID. So this is the group we've been working with for quite a. By the way, that situation I just said, if I'm smart, I'll check in with Steve because he's almost that drive of Ann's, just not as he's just more intense with it. Did that ring for you, Steve, or would you add something to that?
No, that was as a good reflection. Just for Doug, I was interested. It sounds like his need, like I have a need as well for recognition of the things, the achievements that I've done, and looking for that from others is a false strategy. I know that need's there, but I manage that myself rather than letting someone else manage it.
Yeah. If I could add to that, one of the things that Doug's doing, and from the verified point of view, remember he's a 7, you're a 6, so it's a little bit more intense with him. He's trying to check, is this right? Am I on the right track? He's getting feedback to know to continue in this thinking. It's not always a self-acknowledgement. It sounds like it when you said it, Dougie, but I know you, and I know that you're going, is this right? Is this? And now you add some onion skins of needing to be noticed or appreciated as we do as humans, then yeah. But you verifiers are often confirming they're on the right track as well, as you would know, Steve. And but it can look really personal when they're not getting the feedback.
Yeah, certainly in business, it comes down to what's the vision of the business or the business unit and clarity. And if that gets muddy, well, then you get all sorts of, well, what am I doing? Where am I going? This isn't worth it.
Yeah, and your energy whoosh, just drops out.
Spot on.
We got time for a couple more. I know some of you avoid completes want to say something. I'll cheat right now. I know you do, and we're running out of time, so you're going to risk losing this opportunity. So please.
Gail here. I'm going to go to a personal issue, not a work one, but it's
just before you start. Not too much, Gail. Not too much backstory. Just get straight into it.
Very quick. Jeff does all the cooking in our house, and the other day he boiled an egg, and I said thank you, and he said, "Was there a problem?" And I thought, it's a boiled egg. And so I said, oh, it's lovely. And I sort of now remember to say something, because if I don't, he's obviously deeply concerned because of all his drives pulling together. So, yeah, I just passed that as comment.
Now, Jeff's up. He's use verify, use complete, use authenticate, and then down improvise, right?
Yep.
So for those of us who know the score, we call that da 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 da, right? So it's like up, 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 down, right? So they're going to make a lot of stuff matter. And he's what is he in improvise? Is he a 2 or a 1 or what?
2.
2, right, right. You guys must have a fantastic marriage. That'd be so much fun. So what happens is he's putting more into this than you may know, and you will never know, nor, to be fair, really need to know to enjoy the egg, right? But when you get a comment like that, you can use this one in the general way. You just go, oh, sorry, sweetheart, what did I miss? Because he knows you're in another perspective. Acknowledge that he's got something you're seeing something you don't, and let him have that moment of giving you what was going on, because you're never going to guess it, Gail. Well, even when you say it's lovely, he may not have meant that. He might have meant, I thought you might be hungry and went out of my way to get you some food. Why aren't you? You know, you never know. So please, guys, rather than guess, check in. Just check in, right? Okay, another one between you and another person or a situation at work.
Hi, Greg.
Hi.
I've just got one where I've just worked with a VA for a little while, and sometimes I'll say something really off the cuff and quick because I'm in a hurry, or I'm just moving quickly, obviously with an age, and I will sense that she's taken it somewhat personally. I haven't actually addressed it yet, but I know that she's up complete. So I'm just wondering, what is it that she needs from me to not feel a little bit defeated? It seems like she's a little bit defeated when I've moved quickly.
Right. So you're both working on a similar on the same thing, and you've said, oh, well, let's this and this, and you've accelerated it to past where she thinks it is, or that kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So she'll ask me something, and I say, oh, it's just that, blah blah blah, and I want to move on quickly, and I think I've answered it, and I have answered it, but I sense this energy drop in her, and I.
Okay. The first thing is you've answered part of it. The first thing to get is you've answered part of it, right? And that's probably the biggest thing for the void completes to get. Yes, you answered the part and that you heard and you thought was important and you thought was the most impactful with your 8. So we pull out of people's comments the things that strike our drive first, right? And we answer, this sounds great, we answer ourselves first, okay? We give the answer that would make us go, good. It's not the whole answer because they've asked other things, but we didn't see them in the melange that they just gave us, right? So you give your answer, and if you want to, here's the trick though, to keep your 8 cooking and to keep your 3 moving. You're going to have to come back on this if you don't take care of her right now. And the investment in the time now for the extra 10 seconds is going to pay off in maybe hours later, right? So before you go, you check in, she's good to go, right? Before you go, make sure she's good to go. And the way you do that is give your off the cuff, be your ID, do your answer, and then check in to say, did I miss anything? Was there anything else? Is that what you meant? You good with that? Find something where she has a moment. And then, by the way, Suze, when you ask that question, you got to do the old zip of the mouth thing, because if she's that void complete, she's going to need some time to make sure that she really want to hear it. Is this the good time to mention it? There could be a whole bunch of stuff. And she was, that first thing she asked you for was an opening conversation, right? It wasn't the end. We take everything as the end of the conversation, right? So I'm just going to say, you're answering part of the question, stay and see what else there is. Tuck her in. You can't go till she's good to go.
Okay. All right. Work? Good. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Next. I love it. I love the fact that we're searching which one will I use, not we don't have one.
Also, Greg, just a time reminder, we've got about 4 minutes. So if you want to do any check-ins before we close.
Thank you, Ian. Don't you love Ian, everyone? God bless him. I will do that just in case. One more, see if I can get one more. Actually, I love your smiles. All right, I'll break my rule here. We'll use the check-in as a moment. So go for where your ID peak performance score is now, rather your PPI is now, indicator, compared with the beginning of the call. anyone want to comment on the sameness or the difference of it, or anything in reflecting of how you're doing right now?
Greg, if I could just say, I probably was a 7 at the start and I'm an 8, not that I usually use the numbers, but it's just because I've enjoyed myself so much in this session and I've just heard so much that's resonated. It's just made me laugh, which naturally lifts my energy and my number.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thanks, Joe. I love watching you smile. You're one of my markers. Anyone else?
I have to echo that sentiment. I was pretty good coming in, but I just love this kind of energy. Greg, I love your stories and pulling people in. So, and this there were a couple little phrases that are in here that I'm like, I'm gonna steal that. So just so you know, I'm plagiarizing like mad.
Please steal with my blessing. Judy, you look like you want to say something.
Thank you. And I agree with the other two ladies. Wherever I am when I come in, I'm better when I leave.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
And this is such meaningful, great conversation here. Thank you.
Amy, I don't want to put you on the spot, but are you clear of what I was trying to do before? Because I really appreciate your feedback.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, no, crystal clear. Yep.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
I always want to check in with Amy particularly is 3'7", right? So it is what it is, and she can't lie, right? So she's going to give me a really good answer because that 7's got to be reality, and the 3's that got no judgment on it. And we can take feedback from down of verify and up authenticates really, really well because there's so less there's less charge on it, So it's whenever in a group you're wondering how you're going, go check out a type of a drive directions that Amy's got, and you'll get the truth. And they're not mean anything more than what they tell you. There's no hidden agendas there. Now Paul's been looking at formats to continue with and having time like this. It does work, as you can see, really well when we have particular things to address, and we want you to bring things. But I did, since I don't always have you with me, to have a chance to go through how we actually go into the ID with the onion skins of the PPI and going through the drives. Thank you for letting me indulge that first half hour into teaching. So, because now I feel like I've got the background down now with you. We can work from that and move on from there. So I'm hoping that was useful to you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Ian, anything to say from your point of view?
I'd love to, Greg. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll honor the time commitment. And if you have any further questions, send them in. And if you want to ask anything to me, check with Ian. He can forward it through to us. Happy to stay in touch with you guys and feel useful. So happy. And
Fantastic.
see, I'll be literally seeing some of you soon, I hope. All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Greg. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Greg. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay.